Welcome into Sidelined Sports, a Norfolk Cable interview series. I'm your host, Jaron May, and over the next couple weeks, I will be speaking with people involved with King Philip High School sports and the youth sports programs in Norfolk, Wrentham, and Plainville to learn about how COVID-19 has impacted them and how they plan to deal with it in the future. On this first episode, I speak with Jeff Plympton, the head coach for King Philip Baseball, about how the pandemic impacted him and how it took his first season as head coach away from him. Without further ado, here's the interview. Welcome into the very first episode of Sidelined Sports. I'm your host, Jaron May, and I am joined by Jeff Plympton, the head coach of King Philip Baseball. Jeff, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Jaron.
It should be fun. We have a couple questions just to talk about how your last season was impacted and looking forward by COVID-19. So let's hop right into it. My first question is just for you. How have you been holding up during quarantine?
The beginning was kind of tough, kind of locked inside, but things are opening up now. So we're starting to get into a little more summer baseball. So trying to get back into it. So not too bad.
All right. So what have you been doing for summer baseball wise?
My dad's got some baseball team. So I've been helping him out, older kids, about 15. So I've just been helping him out, not head coach, just, if he needs help, practice or coaching first base, just something to get me, involved.
Mm-hmm. So there's obviously a long legacy of baseball in your family with your dad playing in the pros, you playing at King Philip, now back at KP as the head coach. What does baseball mean to you, and how does it kind of just play a role in your life?
Yeah, so like you said, I've grown up around baseball my whole life. So from a very young age, I've always been with my dad going to anything that he did with baseball. And it's cool to see it come full circle with going to KP, coaching there a little bit, and now coming back as a full-time head coach. And it's great teaching there as well and being able to see the kids in that capacity and then also going on the field.
Yeah. So you started at KP as a fill-in teacher, as an assistant coach. You just worked your way up the ranks, and now you're head coach. And your first season completely sidelined, and that's the entire point of this interview series here on Norfolk Cable. My first question with you as a head coach is: when did you get that head coach job, and when did you know that you were going to be the head coach at KP?
Yeah, so I interviewed in last August, so coming up on about a year, and probably then about like half a month later, got the news that I got the job. Super excited, just to lead the program in the right direction and hopefully getting back into the playoffs.
Awesome. So you get the job in August. What happens? Were you able to implement anything down the line before the season started? Were you able to meet with your players, with your captains, that type of stuff?
Yeah, so I met with my captains, and then I met with my coaches, established that staff, and we had a winter hitting. It was called the King Philip Hit Club, and to raise money for our program, starting in January and ran 10 weeks, and so we were able to get some stuff going, but really, we had one player meeting to start the season, and then, everything got shut down right as soon as trials were about to start.
Right. So I feel like everyone has that moment, and especially athletes and coaches has that moment when you found out, all right, my season's canceled. Everything is just shut down because of coronavirus. So, and that moment's gonna stick in your head for a while. What was that moment like for you? How did you find out? Where were you? When did you find out? Just lay the land for me.
Yeah. So, like I said, we had that parents meeting, and I opened it up to questions after, and, I had a parent ask, what about the coronavirus? And I was like, honestly, I really don't know. I go, we're planning to have tryouts next week. I go, whatever the superintendent says is what we're going to go with. And we didn't think too much about it. I was shaking hands with people and probably shouldn't have at that point, but looking back at it. And then I think a few days later, they shut down King Philip for, I think it was maybe 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but I had a feeling at that point, I'm like, I don't think there's going to be a chance that we're coming back here. And the players, they wanted to keep on going. And we're looking for ways to stay ready. But I felt like at that point, since with school shut down, that, it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah. So you have that shutdown. How did you tell the players, or did they just find out on their own?
I mean, they pretty much found out on their own. You can't really have sports without school. So as long as school was shut down, we weren't able to go back.
Yeah.
Some kids would reach out here and there, but I think they pretty much found out from school being shut down.
Mm-hmm. And this probably is one of the first years that you haven't either played or coached. And I know you say that you're helping your dad out in the
Yep.
summer, but since you were young, you've been playing or coaching baseball. So how has it been like just to have that part of your life not there this year because of COVID?
Yeah, it's not fun. I mean, I enjoy baseball so much, and just coaching and being on the field, and now you can't even go to Fenway Park to watch a game. So it's so strange just to have everything shut down. You turn on the TV and you got reruns of sports instead of live games. But I just like being there with the kids and teaching them the game, and it's just a bummer that it's canceled.
Have you been able to do anything with your high school players, not the club team or anything like that, but have you been able to work out or have some batting practice or anything like that with your high school players?
No, we're not allowed to. Off-season stuff, it's you're technically not supposed to be around the kids. There's like 50-50 rule, I believe, that you have to have so much younger kids that aren't in high school, and so many kids that are in high school. So nothing since the shutdown.
All right. How have your players taken it? I assume you've been in contact with at least the captains. How have they been
Yeah.
holding up?
Well, I mean, I feel so bad for the seniors because I just look back on my time playing, and senior year was definitely the most fun year. You're the top person in the program. Nobody's higher than you. But I think also people forget about the juniors, especially for spring sports, because that's their chance to showcase their talent for colleges. And now they didn't have that opportunity. So I know there's talk possibly about maybe having a season in the fall, since it's not a contact sport. That could be a possibility. I don't know if it will happen, but that'll at least give the juniors a chance at the beginning of the year to showcase their talent instead of waiting to the spring.
Wow. That's a really good idea. Did not know about that. So you actually lead me right into my next question is, do you have any players on the KP roster or were going to be on the KP roster that had college aspirations that were trying to get recruited and just got stumbled upon because of COVID?
Yeah. I believe Robert Jarrist was planning to play in college. Besides that, for seniors, maybe some players were planning to try out for different teams when they got there. But like I said, that junior year is their main year. Jake Silveria, it was a big year for him to showcase his talent, starting pitcher, first baseman, at bat. So there's definitely a lot of kids that were probably interested in, getting a look from a college that didn't have that opportunity.
Now, before I let you go here, and we're wrapping up on the first episode of Sidelined Sports with Jeff Plympton, the head coach of the King Philip High School baseball team. Jeff, do you think there is fall sports in high school this year?
It's going to be interesting. I mean, I hope that we can get back to school in the first place, teaching wise, but I don't know about traditional fall sports. If football, being a major contact sport, if that's going to happen or not. Like I said, possibly, baseball, because it's not a contact sport. Man, it's up in the air. I really hope so. I mean, it's great for school morale, and it's great to have football back and see people in the stands.
Right, especially King Philip football because,
Yep.
the long legacy of that with Brian Lee. at the
Absolutely.
helm of that. But hey, Jeff, thank you so much for being the first person on Sidelined Sports. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Awesome. Thanks, Jaron. Glad to be here.
A special thank you to Jeff Plympton for joining me on the first episode of Sidelined Sports, a Norfolk Cable interview series. And of course, a special thank you to all of you, the viewers, for tuning in to this very first episode. Make sure you come back next week as I talk to Gary Brown, the athletic director of King Philip High School, about how COVID-19 has impacted him and his sports department. But for now, Jaron May signing off for NCTV.